Well, I don't know who is appearing at Afterborn. If you know, do let me know, and we will plug that a little more. But certainly Ricky Martin would have man to get that party going. Well, amongst the flying things going on, you may well have picked up that we've got an absolutely interesting, fascinating debut here. Sadly, just the one pass, but they're going to slow it down, and it's going to be big. It's an Atlas C1, an A400M, one of the transport replacements of the fleet alongside the C-17 that Royal Air Force now operate literally all around the world, and driven by a local lad, James Weaver, who's going to be, hopefully, I don't know, he'll be chatting to us, but I've certainly been talking to him offline, and it's just great that there is that local interest that Jenny and I were talking about earlier on. Black Cats are down to one aircraft today, but nonetheless equally impressive stuff with their terrific display. Richard Goodwin, of course, up later on, just goes from strength to strength. He's such a committed aviator, and certainly in aerobatic terms, right up there at the top with a tremendous catalogue of manoeuvres to put into that, and all the favourites you're expecting will be here later on. Now, I understand there's some room available still in the departure lounge enclosure. That's offering a premium barbecue with an inclusive drinks package as well. So do make the most of that if you're looking for somewhere to put your feet up, a little more separate from the crowds around the Western Lawns. Then it's just at the far end of the Western Lawns. I think the grandstand and the promenade seating is sold out for today and the weekend, but there is certainly seating left on Sunday, according to the notes I've got. Now, if you're sticking around for a few days, there's plenty going on in the evenings as well. There's a Spice Girls tribute show going on. That's at 8 p.m. on the bandstand. That should be a lot of fun. The play sponsors, of course, our lead sponsor, Trafalgar Theatres, are mounting in locally, just around the corner in the Devonshire Park Theatre, the play What I Wrote. It sounds an absolute gas, and I'll be talking later in the week to Joe Pasquale about that. He and I have previous involvement with the disabled charity that we're both supporters of. And then, of course, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis's classic novel, celebrating its 75th anniversary, still breaking box office records, 7:30 at the Congress Theatre. Now, we do need assistance as well, despite the fact we're turning over the money from all the support you bring here. We do need help to build up that fund year on year. So please drop some money in the donation buckets when you get a chance and help us to save Airborne and keep it going for another 31 years. What an amazing job they've done to keep this on the road. And of course, 30% of all your contributions also goes to charities as well. Make sure you visit the Army and Navy exhibitions on the Western Lawns. The Western Lawns open until 5 o'clock today, and you can even walk through a mock Chinook, as well as having a go or perhaps tasting some food from the Royal Air Force catering team as well. Cadets are there with a Bulldog aircraft, and you heard us, you heard the FM team chatting to the Army boys there with a Gazelle helicopter as well. But more and more of that to come over the next few days. Look out for the Air Bears, Ace and Amy as well. They'll be around the Western Lawns. You can get some photographs with them as well, get a big bear hug, and they've got lots of souvenirs. But if you really want to know what's going on, pick up a programme. It's just £10. It gets bigger and better every year. Got everything you need to know in there. An outline of the flying times, but lots of detail on the aircraft and the pilots participating in the show, not just today, but throughout the weekend as well. So do that. Settle yourselves in and get ready. We will be starting slightly later than initially published. We're now going to start at 1:30 this afternoon with the Stampe display team, but then flying all the way through until 4 o'clock this afternoon. We hope to be flying on sunshine for the rest of the afternoon as well. But just want to correct one little thing. The details about the opportunity to go and sit somewhere a little more comfortable and get some premium service. I was told the grandstand seating is sold out Friday to Sunday, but some seats do actually remain there for today. Okay, so if you want to put your feet up, then you can book those. Go to the information stand right in the middle of the Western Lawns. There are some promenade seats available close to the military displays, of course, and you can come and go as well, knowing that you've got a seat for that promenade seating. The Aviator Club itself is, however, sold out, but limited availability still remains for the departure lounge today. I thought it was just Sunday, so it's today and Sunday. If you want a bit of hospitality and some informal setting with great views and premium lunch, etc., etc., make the most of that. I've got to go offline just for a few minutes now, so I'm going to leave you with a few other tunes just to sit back and enjoy. Make the most of it. Well, just about 10 minutes before we get going with some action in the air. So, good opportunity now to make sure you've got everything you need to be comfortable down on the beach there. Don't forget, keep the kids well hydrated. Plenty of sunscreen as well, and hats where possible. A nice coolish breeze, but a very, very strong sun. So, please bear that in mind, won't you? Please also make sure you keep all your belongings with you throughout the course of the afternoon. And if you see anything remotely suspicious, all you have to do is speak to any of the friendly crew, stewards or policemen around the site, and they'll get you sorted out. And do please, if you haven't picked up a wristband yet for the children, you can get one of those from the information stand on the western lawns at the same time as topping up your refillable bottle with some lovely ice cold water as well. So just around 10 minutes to go. Well, I've just heard the radio waves break into life, which means it's time to get this show started. And we've got a small but elegant band of airmen in some very delightful vintage aircraft called a Stampe, just getting ready to make their way into the display area. Now, just a few words on that display area. First of all, you'll see some big boys out there. That, of course, is the main display line. And within that, there is also a bit of a swim area as well. But the tide is well up, so that should keep you all well back and out of the way. We notice there are boats out there. We hope to see lots more of them over the weekend, but they are on the other side, the extreme side of what is our normal air display exclusion zone. So that is part of how the safety is all set up for the afternoon. We've got two holds. You'll see people, aircraft coming in from the left-hand side from Pevensey and occasionally from the right-hand side at Beachy Head as well. And maybe even over the top from behind you as well later on in the afternoon. So keep your eyes out, in this case, to the left-hand side. Now, there's a bit of a breeze, so they'll probably take a bit of a while to get here, actually. So I'll not usurp that too rapidly, as they are small, light biplanes. Down there as well, aren't they? Yeah. Yep. Okay, just checking with my colleagues here in the box that they are indeed on their way in, which they are, but as I mentioned, they'll only do about 90 knots on a good day, so with about 15 to 20 knots of a headwind is going to by George's Ivanov, and the Stampe was designed, as I mentioned, as initially as a trainer, won a contract to supply the Belgian Air Force with 300 aircraft during 1939. That was followed by another order from the French Air Force for 600. So keep your eyes peeled now as they slowly make their way up the coastline to come and join us here to open the first day of this wonderful 4-day display airborne here on the beautiful coastline of Eastbourne. So a little bit of gentle introductory background for these venerable airmen and these gorgeous little aircraft. The Stampe became a stalwart of aerobatic competitions both in France and the rest of Europe and was much loved for its harmonized, light and effective controls. Many people still today confuse it with the well-known Tiger Moth. But it does differ fairly significantly, as you'll see this year coming in as a 3-ship, the Stampe formation. Spotters amongst you will have spotted the little tail wheel on the end. They also have brakes. The Tiger Moth didn't have any brakes, and these have got an extra set of ailerons as well, which gives it a bit more of a roll rate that you get normally from this class of aircraft. Emulating many of the previous formations of early years, one of the most well known was the Rothmans formation team that operated 4 Stampes during the early 1970s, prior to them moving on to the Pit Special, and the legendary Neil Williams, who came second in the final of the Lockheed Trophy, flying one of these aircraft here today. Go back to the war. At the outbreak of the Second World War, 40 aircraft had been produced in Antwerp, and Farn had also produced more in France as well. But few survived the war itself. You see with the wonderful colour schemes, the formation led today by Richard Ward. We'll go through a series of really, really gorgeous, elegant turns, wingovers, rolls, displaying absolutely wonderfully just how manoeuvrable these aircraft are. Very much bringing home the finest traditions of the classical barnstorming years. All the glimmer, glamour, romance and gloss of the 1930s and 40s. And their agility and manoeuvrability enables them to absolutely contain this into a relatively small piece of airspace as well. Normally a four-ship, but today one of their members not in great shape at the moment, had to drop out from this, but the three ships still a very, very elegant formation. Although it's able to fly up to around 130 miles an hour, also as you can see being able to turn very tightly in a small formation. So throughout the course of that sequence now, over the next few minutes, you'll see a combination of different formation changes, dynamic breaks, and a series of tail chases. There's a history of entertaining crowds that stretches back for almost 50 years. An extraordinary number of these were eventually built, just over 1,000 of them. And spanned a reasonable couple of decades in active service as well, first flying in 1933 and not being retired until as late as 1975, the primary user being the French Air Force. Up front, Richard Ward leading today. Started in aviation as an 18-year-old air trafficker, but he remembered being inspired by being taken to watch the Battle of Britain film as a 5-year-old with his father, and he knew then he just had to be a pilot. He had the pleasure of being introduced to this on his first flying scholarship by the very well-known Barry Tempest, something of a legend in our world and a man who drove the great success of wing walking some 4 or 5 decades ago. Richard, however, did pursue military flying. He joined Air Europe at Gatwick in a couple of decades ago, flying the Boeing 757s and 767s, but started flying Stamps in the 1990s at Red Hill. First meeting Chris Jessen, started training with them as well, and made his first actual display in 2017. Flying number 2, Richard Meredith, a retired school teacher. He also had to go to early military flying, joining the CTF and completed glider flying and flying scholarships, flying with the University Air Squadrons on Chipmunks. But he joined the Tiger Club and started display flying in 1997 as part of the extremely entertaining and very well-known Turbulent team, which he himself led for many years. Coming by in a line astern now, and just what a beautiful sight that is. Not just the delightful colour schemes. Of course, yellow predominantly features on a lot of aircraft, particularly in the training world, because that is what we refer to as a high conspicuity colour. Flying alongside Richard, both Richards, Meredith and Ward, we have Richard Berliant. He's in the red and yellow Stampe. He was inspired to take up aviation by his grandfather. He'd been in the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm during World War II. He actually learned to fly across in the US, initially in New Jersey, working on his private pilots, and then California, getting a CPL. Stand by now as they're coming in for a break, a great photographic opportunity coming up. The Bishop break. Now, following this, they will reposition to come down to their minimum heights for a couple of wave-by runs, so you know what to do. I hope in these circumstances, whatever you're doing down there on the beach, do give all the pilots during the day a jolly good wave. It's a great way of them feeling the appreciation of your enjoyment down there on the beach. And at the end of this, we'll get a demonstration from the individual solo performer. Keep your eye as the wave by completes, and here we go, the commencement of the full envelope of what these wonderful little aircraft can achieve. The Stampe was chosen by the team for its aerobatic prowess and also its excellent handling qualities, making it a precise formation mount, and of course flown by many international teams that we mentioned. The current team has been together since 2020. Richard Ward taking over the reins at the end of that year, having flown with the team since 2018. He's led the team at various venues such as Duxford, Old Warden, Folkestone, Ragley Hall, and most famously Farnborough International. And last year was seen by more than 150,000 airshow goers. winding up the show. This is Richard himself now, just putting it through his paces. Going up over the top, just checking the horizon, get your wings level, pulling all the way through. The aim being with the loop, of course, to level out exactly where you started. With terrific ease, just continuing that motion going. This time, a half Cuban, where you just stick the stick forward a bit, just check it, and then roll the wings to 180 degrees before doing it again. Only this time, with a wing open. Come towards the end of this display, it's worth noting the close relationship between Gravity Global and the Stampe formation team. It's been in place since 2022 when the Stampe owner and fan, Paul Anderson, put his and his then company's backing behind the team and designing their current logo. As well as doing this, Richard now a training captain flying the Boeing 787 long-haul airliner for TUI. And also flies with Aero Legends flying the American T6 Texan and the TH-82 Tiger Moth. He's however hoping to spend a bit more time in the Spitfire T9 at Duxford as well. Come through that loop, pushing up now, holding it till the airspeed bleeds off, putting it into a stall turn, a big boot full of rudder, tipping the wing through 180 degrees. Coming into his final maneuver. Barrel rolling his way out into the distance. And I think just once again at the conclusion of the display, hopefully giving us a short flyby. The other two wingmates holding off. Richard Ward here, just completing his solo routine. Come on, boys and girls, mums and dads, do give him a wave as he gives you a wonderful farewell wind waggle. The Stampe formation team. Well, as he flies off into the wide blue yonder, and no doubt with a very large smile on his face, you can hear my radio very busily in the background there talking to our next performer, who is extremely well known here at Airborne, has been a terrific supporter of it for many, many years indeed. And it's a rip-roaring display from a very accomplished and experienced pilot, of course, and one who always delivers. He just goes from strength to strength. And I'm talking, of course, about Richard Goodwin in the Pitts Special. He's already checked in with us and should be with us in the next minute. He's just getting clearance from air traffic control. And, of course, what we have to do between each event is check that there are no other intruders, that the sky remains clear and the area is safe for the next display. So if you look over Beachy Head, I'm pretty sure that's where he just last called us from. And yes, there you see him dying in. He's just waiting now for the Stampe formation team to clear off to our western side. And I have little doubt he will be coming in with his trademark arrival, which is the knife edge pass. It's a great machine, this. He's a very consummate and what can I say, dedicated engineer as well as pilot, and he'll be wanting to display this to its maximum. And this is no average aircraft, I can assure you. It's no average pit special at all. Keep your eyes peeled now. Smoke will come on very, very shortly. So here we go. Richard Goodwin in the jet pits. Well, that was just the start of what is going to be a very dynamic exercise indeed, I can assure you. And the history of these aircraft goes back a good way, back into the middle of the 40s. And I made brief reference to them during the Stampe display because the Stampe formation team of the 1970s under Neil Wilson eventually changed, and alongside many other teams and performers, to the pit special, made and built for aerobatic competitions. And here he comes now. Oh, literally, he was upside down, all the blood pouring into his head, now pushing away in very uncomfortable position. This is a highly modified aircraft referred to as the Jets, which is a very, very unique aircraft. I'm sorry to say that I've just been told the Jets are not working, which is a great shame, but nonetheless, I can assure you the display will still be pretty good. The aircraft itself, it's a light aerobatic biplane, you can see that, designed by a guy called Curtis Pitts, and accumulated many competition accolades and wins since its very first flight back in 1944. Dominated aerobatic competitions from the right through the 60s and 70s, and even today, as you can see, remains a potent competition aircraft in many of the lower categories, having been developed by things like the XA41 and the Edge 330s and the like. But he'll go through a whole bibliography of different manoeuvres now: pinwheels, hammerheads, longevaks, roulards. He's got the whole mix, and the great thing with being a spinning display pilot is you can adjust as you fly through. You've got a whole load of manoeuvres in your head already, and you merely adjust to the state of, well, visibility is no problem today, which is terrific. It just looks beautiful up there. But of course there is quite a breeze from our right hand side, and he'll be adjusting all the time as he literally spirals the way down into a very tight spinning manoeuvre there. Pitts began working on this back in 1942, eventually getting airborne with just a 90 horsepower Franklin engine in 1944, and just went on generally being built at home before being refined for aerobatic performance, by which time in the 60s it had a 180 horsepower engine on the front and a symmetrical airfoil. The advantage of that is it makes inverted flying characteristics very similar to normal upright characteristics. In other words, it flies just as well, just as easily and manoeuvrable upside down as it does the right way up. And Richard there just literally bleeding away the airspeed, hanging on the edge, kicks a big boot of rudder, pinwheels it down through his own smoke. It's built several monoplane racing airplanes as well, the most famous of which was the Pellet. But he also started putting a little picture of a skunk on the side of many of his aircraft as well. And he produced a little monster. And then in the hands of an outstanding lady performer called Betty Skelton, who called his second aircraft that Curtis built the Little Stinker. It was a prototype ST, and also then later on the first two-seat Pitts was referred to as the Big Stinker. But Betty Skelton's aircraft still available today to see upside down in the Smithsonian Annex at Dulles Airport across the pond in Washington. This particular aircraft, though, you can see in the hands of a man who knows it well. It's been built from scratch over a period of the last 5 years, based on the Pitts S2S fuselage, but incorporating many modifications. It's got a massive new wing, massive ailerons, giving it increased roll rate, which you're observing now, even when he's going upwards, running out of power, using what's left of the propeller. He's fitted on a huge 6-cylinder, 8.5 litre Lycoming 540 engine. Different gear, different engine mounts, titanium gear legs, a new shaped carbon cowling as well, reducing the weight and drag of the aircraft. All in all, with the modified rudder, giving it a much more powerful yaw control and an amazing rate of roll. What we sadly can't hear today, because they've obviously gone tech, as we say in the business, are the two Lynx jet turbines, which would give him an extra 300 pounds of thrust each using Jet A1 fuel, because that gives it a very distinctive sound as well. Once again, upside down, it's going in around a straight line or a normal flight. But again, this takes an awful lot of demand on the body. You have to train for it. You can't do much about negative G, and pushing away from yourself like that is just getting more and more painful. But now back in the normal G world, where you're all weighing about 1 G at the moment. You'll hear us talking about G during the air show. And when you're putting a maneuver like that, he increases his body weight by up to 6 and 7 times. And that is can be very tricky. Upside down, you can generally push about -3 G before it gets pretty impossible to see anything that's going on. So just using this little run now, cooling the engine, he'll just be taking a little breather, checking his T's and P's, as we say in the business. Before then, he'll start a spiral dive down, and he'll be using all that energy, what we call energy management. It's not just the power of the engine, it's the power of a descent, which helps him get up all the momentum required to add to his engine power to then go into the next set of maneuvers. So here he comes, diving down, building up the speed, building up the energy, putting in a few turns. And literally now screaming and throwing it around, using every bit of that momentum. And you can see how he's just letting it hang, rolling it down, not quite going fully gyroscopic, now tail sliding in through its own smoke as well, and then letting the weight of the engine just take over and bring him back towards a whole windscreen full of sea. And there, oh, that's a little jinx to the left, then rolling it to the other way. Again, it's a hugely demanding exercise, this. It's not just the concentration required, but you've got to have attention on all your instruments as well, and of course the airspace around you to be absolutely, totally in control. About 10 minutes of this is about the same as several hours pumping away in the gymnasium. Very, very hard work, very demanding. And you need to train and be prepared for it, very much like the Formula One drivers, equally so. Constantly displaying this extraordinary roll rate at the same time. It's pulling a phenomenal magnitude, whereas pushing against himself as well. Now imagine what that is like going over a humpback bridge and then just going even higher and higher and higher before you come back. And everything is just pushing away. It's very, very tricky indeed. So you can see all these little tweaks that Richard has made this. He spends hours. He's got a hangar up in Stampe Airport up at near Gloucester and Cheltenham. Not quite complete yet, but a good chance. He'll be looking at you now through the top of his cockpit, so do give him a wave as well as he goes by. This is terrific performance, with or without jets. It doesn't really matter. It's still a massively impressive aircraft and a very, very talented and dedicated pilot as well. So all those tweaks adding up to give incredibly enhanced capabilities on this aircraft. Very unique set of aerobatics, mixing high-energy gyroscopic forces combined with the standard aerobatic maneuvers that these guys are trained to. Now here we go. If he had the jets, he'd be pushing up a little higher. This time now, he's just letting it hang. Don't forget, he's still got one massively powerful engine on the front, and just letting it hang on that, just the airspeed literally down to almost zero, and then letting the weight of the aircraft to allow it to drop to pick up a little more speed. Almost hovering like a Harrier, and I can assure you occasionally he certainly does. Richard Goodwin in the amazing muscle biplane, with or without his jets, is still a very, very impressive display indeed. Very well done. Well, that's great. We're getting into this now, and I hope you're getting in the groove, enjoying this excitement in the air, making the most of the afternoon. Just a little check-up on the children for their hats, sunscreen, usual things, dehydration, etc., all of that, and also make sure you've got all your belongings. Bit of a breeze picking up now, so do hang on to all your hats, and preferably put everything else away that may fly into the air as well, because of the dangers that may well bring. Okay, coming up next, something completely different now. Our first jet of the afternoon in the hands of a foreign visitor from Norway. You may have heard him on the radio earlier on this morning. His name's Ken Arkvila, an absolutely delightful chap. Ex-Norwegian Air Force, spent many, many years with Scandinavian Airlines as well, and he's bringing us a vintage Vampire, something very synonymous with the history of Britain as well, and the early days of the Royal Air Force. So just waiting for clearance on the airwaves to come through. Just checking on the time as well. So he's due in the next minute, and I haven't yet heard him, so we'll just keep a listen out there. And again, in his interview this morning, he was talking about the amount of airspace. This, of course, is first generation aircraft. It's a little bit after the initial ones, but it was around the same period as the Javelins and the Meteors of its day. And we're still testing the extremes of the potential of jet engines at that stage. Enormous number of developments. It was the heyday of British engineering and British aviation manufacture as well. And of course, it led to greater and greater things. And you compare this with the modern day frontline aircraft like the Typhoon, which we'll see during the next few days. It's very, very different indeed. Just a reminder also to pick up your programs. If you've just joined us, a very warm welcome to you. The program absolutely steeped with useful information. It also helps keep the show going. Just £10. Some great articles in there, superb photographs as well. And if you spread that around the family, I'm sure the kids will love seeing the photographs in there as well. Well, I've just heard that he is definitely on his way. He's just a couple of minutes late, so he'll be with us very, very shortly. Well, I've just heard on the radio that he's in the vicinity approaching Beachy Head. So keep your eyes open over to the right-hand side, and we should be able to pick him up. It's a tiny little aircraft, but it's surprisingly noisy, actually, because, of course, it's an early generation jet engine as well. So I'll just fade that down for a moment, and we'll concentrate on what is coming up next. I can, the comms are not particularly brilliant at the moment, but he's definitely there chatting to us, which is terrific. His early interest, like so many, was during his childhood, inspired by aircraft. Started flying as a teenager and went solo in a glider at the age of 15. Very active in gliding competitions and aerobatics, and we just got the clearance now. He's just been given clearance to display, and you'll see this magnificent little jet heading in very, very shortly. There he is. Look high up on your right-hand side. And he's an absolute delightful guy, very committed, and one of the most passionate supporters of British air shows. Ken Ockfeeler in the Vampire. He went into the military in the early 1980s, becoming a pilot, and flew around 1500s there, trained as a forward air controller, and then went into Scandinavian Airlines. But of course, he's synonymous with actually setting up the Norwegian historical air squadron. And without people like him, we just simply wouldn't have these aircraft flying and visiting us here today. This particular example, an FB-52, the export version of the Mark 6, 100 of those were built and 36 of them were exported to Norway, where they were used between 1949 to 1957. Norwegian Air Force Historical Squadron itself, a non-profit organisation dedicated to keeping some of these unique aircraft in the sky, which of course is where all historic aircraft should belong, but not necessarily in museums. And he is so committed to getting his aircraft around Europe during the course of every summer. He often brings this aircraft across, leaves it at somewhere like North Weald, and then flies to home and back when he's not displaying, and then just nips over for a weekend to display here. It's absolutely terrific dedication. The de Havilland Vampire was Norway's first jet fighter. The historical squadron itself, founded in 2008, based at Riga Air Base, just south of Oslo. The whole aim being to preserve these wonderful military historical aircraft, display them at air shows all around Europe, and also help educate people about the importance of aviation heritage as well in their country, as well as across other countries. Very successful aircraft. They've got two Vampires, T-55 as well as this FB-52, but also have the unique MiG-15 as well, which we have had here at Eastbourne once before, in addition to a T-boat. Some of you enthusiasts out there may well have noticed that this aircraft is yet again in new markings. On the left-hand side, commemorating 3 Squadron Royal Air Force, and on the right-hand side, number 72 Squadron. Both had previously flown Vampires, are both active today. So with number 3 Squadron up at Coningsby, and of course 72 Squadron Valley. Certainly very British background, manufactured by the de Havilland Aircraft Company, and the distinction of being the second jet fighter to be operated by the Royal Air Force after the Gloucester Meteor, and the very first to be powered by a single jet engine as opposed to 2. Work on it commenced as early as 1941, initially in an experimental mode, but suitable for combat, and obviously extending the lessons we were learning about jet propulsion. Settling on a twin-boom aircraft powered initially by the Halford H1 turbojet, later picking up the nickname of the Goblin. It was decided to mass produce it for the Royal Air Force as an interceptor in 1944, entered service in 1946, only months after the conflict had come to an end. Very effective aircraft, and had various distinguished records and aviation firsts, such as being the first jet aircraft to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. And it remained in frontline service with the Royal Air Force up until 1953. Over 3,200 of them were produced and not finally retired until 1979, would you believe, and that was with the Rhodesian Air Force. at a maximum speed around 540 miles an hour. Good range in excess of 1,000 miles and a service ceiling of 42,000 feet. Was able to be armed. It could carry 4 20mm Hispano Mark V cannons, 8 3-inch 60-pound rockets, or 2 500-pound bombs. And if you weren't carrying those, there was room for a couple of drop tanks as well. And there you can see just how much space it requires going up into a loop. That Goblin engine there just producing 3,300 pounds of thrust. So relative lightweight, the speeds, and of course the early aerodynamic design, not as sharp, fluid, and of course doesn't have any of the digital abilities of modern frontline aircraft. But nonetheless, great hands did a sterling job. It was progressively reassigned to various secondary roles such as ground attack missions and pilot training operations, and officially retired by the RAF, handing over to the legendary Folland Nat. And that was Ken, very sadly, just signing off, and he goes back into the Wild Blue Londa. He's basing himself at North Weald throughout the course of this weekend, and probably taking in one or other events as well, I've little doubt. Coming up next, however, one of our all-time favourites, the Battle Brit Memorial flight, will be joining us very shortly. Just had an update on the next flight there. So there they go. The Ken makes way now, and what I've just been informed was that we were expecting the usual 3-ship formation of the Battle Brit Memorial flight, but very sadly the Spitfire has gone tech, which is a great disappointment. But nonetheless, we're going to see PZ865 with Al Lucking on board the Hurricane alongside Seb Davey and JJ Jackson flying the Lancaster in just a few minutes' time. But I'm also joined by a very special guest this afternoon. If you just give me a moment, we'll introduce her. And making her debut appearance here at Eastbourne as a commentator, I'd just like to introduce Myra Hansford. Good afternoon, Myra.
Good afternoon. It's a joy to be here.
Well, it's a real pleasure to see you, and I hope you're really excited about seeing the 2 aircraft coming up next, a Lancaster and a Hurricane, because I understand your husband has quite a history with the Royal Air Force. Sorry, your father.
My father was born in 1895.
Which is absolutely remarkable, isn't it? Well, look, right across on the right-hand side now, there's a lot going on in this cabin, I can assure you. You'll see the marvellous sight and sound. Now, your father was flying aircraft that were string bags a long time before this. But let's just pause now, because, of course, we are also at the same time this year reflecting and commemorating not just the 85th anniversary of Battle of Britain,
lovely.
but VJ 80 as well. ladies and gentlemen, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. What a wonderful sight that is, especially on this particular coastline when, of course, our predecessors would have seen many a war-weary crew bringing often heavily damaged aircraft back across the English Channel. The countryside around us here littered with various casualties, crashes, and of course not just of British aircraft but those of the enemy as well, who fought and tackled during those difficult long days of 1940, but throughout the entire conflict, this coastline featuring hugely in the activities of aerial combat for all those years. Very fitting in this anniversary double year of both the victory in Europe, victory in Japan, and the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. How poignant it is that we should have them here joining us today, underpinning that commemorative activity, which will be marked tomorrow across the country at 12 o'clock with a 2-minute silence. The pair formation now just breaking, so we get an opportunity to savour the delights of both aircraft. The Hurricane today in the hands of Squadron Leader Al Lucking. So with our Lancaster holding off on the right-hand side, an opportunity now to savour the wonderful and venerable Hurricane, the aircraft that bore the brunt of the intense activity of 1940. One of the classic fighters of all time, designed and built at the forefront of Britain's defence. Not just in the Battle of Britain, but of course right through until the conclusion of victory in VJ Day, which we will celebrate tomorrow. The brainchild of Sir Sidney Cam, an extraordinary designer who went on to design the Typhoon, the Tempest, the Hunter and the Harrier as well. The first British monoplane 8-gun fighter, the first RAF aircraft to exceed 300 miles per hour in level flight, and the first production fighter with a retractable main undercarriage. A remarkable total of 14,533 Hurricanes were built, and this one in many cases, or remarkably to note, of course, very special in its own right, being the very last Hurricane that was built, rolling off the Hawker production line at Langley in 1944 with the inscription, "The last of the many." All these aircraft of phenomenal importance, not just to the Royal Air Force, but our entire nation. And the team, supported by a lot of volunteer pilots as well, do their very best to reach as many people every year throughout the summer season. The flight itself was put together in the mid-50s, formed out of 3 initially Mark 19 Spitfires, but gradually built up over the years. This particular Hurricane was purchased back by Hawkers from the Air Ministry and kept in storage at Langley, luckily, before then being returned to its wartime camouflage scheme and being adopted by the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. Presentation back in 1972 after a complete overhaul. But had other bits of interesting history as well. This particular aircraft was entered into the King's Cup Air Race by Princess Margaret and flown by the well-known Group Captain Peter Townsend, achieving a 2nd place in that particular race. So as we come towards the end of the fighter sequence, a moment to reflect on those brave young men of the Battle of Britain. Just over 2,300 actually represented those in the battle on our side, that was of course. 570 of them were not even British pilots. Support from the Commonwealth and particularly the Eastern European pilots was just immense. 544 of those were killed during the course of the battle. The average age of fighter pilots at the time was just 22, and the average life expectancy just 4 weeks. As they pass over now, the victory roll from Al Lucking in the Hurricane, the mighty Lancaster quite rightly takes centre stage. The part played by the bomber crews was simply immense. The casualties high, with the performance and effect absolutely dramatic. The commitments they made, and again a familiar sight in this part of the country. Again, another extraordinary engineering and design feats. Put this together, joining with the company Avro, and of course they quite extraordinary. Within 11 years of this aircraft getting into the skies, the Vulcan then appeared. A testimony to our ingenuity and tenacity of British engineering, in addition to the many pilots who flew it. And in this commemorative year, we remember those brave men, the fresh-faced boys, and the hard-bitten heroes who flew again and again into the face of almost insurmountable odds, until the job was done. We salute you. So as we come towards the concluding part of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight Presence here today, we must take important note of their own motto, which is "Lest we forget," and we certainly will be doing more of that over the next few days. And whilst talking about Avro, I'm just going to have another quick word with my special guest here today, Myra, because your father flew an Avro aircraft. What was that?
Well, the point was he was posted to India after the war, after the First World War, and that was to help to organise the postal route to Australia, and also to help in the race to Australia. So he met quite well, not all of them got to Karachi, but he had to do with that. And at the end of his India sting, they were offered planes, and it was a gift from India. He brought it back to England. He went to where he was living, Somersetshire, and he applied for a license. He got his Courier. No, it
And I just have to say what a marvellous departure that was. I'm looking now at a British Empire Aviator certificate with this remarkably handsome man. Would you like to read his name out fully for me there? I can't quite read all.
Henry Woodland Beasing, henceforth.
What an extraordinary set of wonderfully, what can we say, Commonwealth, truly British names. Quite remarkable.
Yes.
And this really is quite an astonishing memento, because this was signed on the 29th of November 1918, and truly remarkable by the Federation Aeronautic International of the British Empire. What a marvellous piece of history. I wish I could share this on a camera with everybody out there. His first aircraft qualification being an Avro 504 BE2C. Marvellous. I have to break off now briefly, because if you look over to your right-hand side now, a very, very special treat indeed for today and tomorrow only. We are going to feature one of the frontline Royal Air Force heavy lift carriers, an A400, a versatile tactical and strategic air mobility platform. It does such a wide variety of work: low-level airdrop, low and high altitude parachuting, unprepared runways, air-to-air refueling and air-sea rescue. Please welcome James Weaver and his crew in the Air 400 from 70 Squadron of Royal Air Force, Brize Norton. It's a truly impressive aircraft, and they've slowed it down as much as they can to give you all as much time here, as they're actually within, would you believe, a low-level training sortie, which is taking about 3 hours worth of flying, and this is just happens to be one serial on their way during the course of that. Luke Jules is actually the captain today, and he's been in the Air Force for many, many years, flying A400s as well for quite some time now. And he just wanted to say thank you to all his friends living in Eastbourne who've worked with him on the veterans charity Waterloo Uncovered. James is actually in the co-pilot seat today, has been the project officer for all the flypasts. And he volunteered to do this, especially for all of you out there, because he grew up here and he attended air shows in Eastbourne, the airborne shows, in the many, many early years. And it's really special for him to be back. And what a great sight that is as well. So we hope very much to see them tomorrow, and we wish James and Luke the very best wishes, and our grateful thanks for bringing that splendid aircraft here all along the seafront with us here today. Really, really superb indeed. Well, you hear them chatting away. I'm just going back to Myra now to say, Myra, this is a marvellous archive, and I can't share. I don't have a camera here, but I think we need to spend some time with you on display somewhere, perhaps at one of the Royal Air Force museums, because it's obvious from what I'm looking at that your husband was also an air display. Sorry, your father. Your father was also an air display pilot.
Yeah, well, he was a trainer, he was a test pilot, and he was an air display the pilot as well.
And do you recall ever seeing him do an air display yourself?
Well, during the war, the only thing I saw him able to do, because we were living very near where he was training the pilots, and was to wag his wings when he flew over.
Well, I did that myself. I used to come back and I used to, very naughty, fly over the married quarters, and then my wife would know when to put the kettle on.
That's right.
And it's just wonderful that we can share those sort of memories, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this is just the most remarkable. Now, what about you, though? Did you ever get to fly yourself?
Well, I just flew with somebody, and I did a little bit of things, but I was in quite a different window.
Myra, we've got to stop there because our next aircraft is already here. It's the wonderful Jet Provost Mark V. Phil Bird, who's well known on the air display segment. You're welcome to stay here for a little bit longer and enjoy the air show with us. Okay, so looking up into the sky now, catching us out there, speedily overtaking from the A400 presence there. Now our next aircraft in the sky, and this is a long line of aircraft. We're actually going to see another variant of this over the next few days, the Strike Master variant, but here in the hands of Phil Bird, who I mentioned, who was an accomplished Royal Air Force display pilot himself, who flew here many times. This particular aircraft with the call sign Viper 324, partly because it's got a Viper engine, and also because the serial number of this aircraft is X-Ray Whiskey 324. It was built in Warsaw. It was the 38th Jet Provost Mark V back in September 1970. It entered service with 3 FTS and coded number 38. It was used for basic pilot training and also used by the school's aerobatics team, the Gemini pair. And of course, in those days, there were many different display teams and individual solo pilots. Many competitions as well, such as the Ryan's Jubilee Trophy. I remember my instructors during that decade as well, all very, very keen to display aircraft when there was an abundance of aircraft to be had. So coming from a very long line of developments of Jet Provost aircraft, going right back into the mid-early 50s, really, when the Royal Air Force was looking for a replacement aircraft for the Hunting Percival. The JP family, as it was developed during those times, with the first one making its initial flight in 1954. Quickly developed, though, the success of the Mark III as a training aircraft was significant, and that went on for a long time, right until the 90s. But the T5 was a pressurized version. It had better visibility, slightly more power, and therefore also able to be considered in a combat role as well. Striking, coming through with a lovely topside past the film there, showing off all its pleasures and delights. Phil himself joined the Air Force in 2002 and went on to fly the Tornado F3. He saw a lot of service on quick reaction alert before then moving on to become an instructor on the Hawk, which is when we all got to know him in 2012 as the Hawk display pilot. He was posted onto the Typhoon after that, so where he spent the rest of his career before then moving into the commercial world, where he is currently flying the Airbus A330 and A350 for Virgin Atlantic. He, like so many Air Force pilots, though, he had his fair share of operational activity, flying daily on Operation Shader in support of combat missions in Iraq and Syria during those campaigns. The aircraft itself flew for 24 years with the Royal Air Force before going into the hands of Jeff Bell, those wonderfully committed enthusiasts and entrepreneurs who help to fund and keep these vintage aircraft in the sky. Went through its first major refurbishment with Jeff, and here we have it in the 6 FTS paint scheme. Pretty good aircraft as a trainer, 420 knot speeds. We're able to pull +5 and -3G, and involved in one of the high altitude endurance missions, giving it an endurance around about 3 hours. It's about London to Malta, again, our thanks to Jeff and to Phil for showing us that, yes, again, another vintage classic jet. Well, the action coming through thick and fast now. Coming up next, we're going to see one of the Wingwalkers. And I say one because I think most of you are used to seeing a pair of them. Sadly, they were not able to commit to 2 aircraft for us this year. But nonetheless, always a great pleasure to see the Wingwalkers. And this is absolutely the perfect environment for them here on a sunny day at Airborne. The lead pilot and chief pilot with the company, Dave Barrell, has certainly has a soft spot for Eastbourne because he's making his way back to stay with us for the next couple of nights as well, and has a great history around the town. So once we get the airspace cleared once again and Phil has departed in the T5, we'll be able to call the Wingwalker back in, taking us once again back into the wonderfully romantic, slightly crazy days of the 40s, 50s, and even the early 30s, actually, of barnstorming. And a massively entertaining show always from them. Well, we're just waiting for those final checks to take place, and we will get on with the show as soon as we can. So here we go, look high in the sky, pulling up now into its first loop of this dynamic and active display from the Wingwalkers. Dave Barrell, Aerocybernetics. Bringing all the joy, thrill, and glamour of those mid-war years when a whole heap of aircraft, lots and lots of spare pilots from the First World War looking for action and fun and enjoyment. And this is the sort of thing they did. It goes back an interesting tale, really. An extraordinary guy called Ormond Locklear was the man at the heart of it. He reputedly, during the course of an issue with one of his aircraft, attempted to walk out on the wing and try and fix it. And that sort of then led to more daredevils turning it into a form of aerial entertainment. He teamed up with the equally extraordinarily coincidentally named Ethel Dare, who then ended up, basically she started off as the world's very first female Wingwalker. And between the pair of them, they would actually, in those days, walk from one aircraft to another. Of course, safety a little more at forefront of flying displays these days, particularly for these characters who we've got today. Flying up front, I mentioned Dave Barrell, Chief Pilot. On top, we've got Emma and the Wingwalkers themselves. It's very much a demanding and competitive job to get. Stearman, an absolutely fantastic aircraft for this, a 1940s biplane, flying around here at a speed up to 150 miles an hour. And you can see Emma on top there, absolutely doing her very, very best to athletically move around the swiveling rig that she has there against the strength of all the winds. At the same time, of course, she's going upside down. She has no vocal contact with the pilot, so it's all done by hand signals. And as she goes into a little bump there, she pulls over the top, and then all the blood rushing to her head and his. Putting up to 4G during the course of this display as well, and occasionally minus 2G. You can imagine what it must be like not being in control of the aircraft and being thrown around the sky by the pilot, thoroughly enjoying himself in the base there. You've seen them in many guys in the past. Were with Brighton for many years, and of course the Crunches, and with Gino, now just running their own business, based up at Rencombe in Gloucestershire. You can do this yourself as well. Just go to the Aerosuperbatics website, or just go skywingwalking.com. You'll find them there. It's a bit like riding a roller coaster right in front of you. That smoke, all environmentally friendly stuff as well. It's a bit like baby oil. And used not just for effect, although I've got to say on a day like this with the sun catching the wings there just wonderfully well. It's also used extensively for safety management during the course of all air displays. You hear that wonderful roar there? That is from the massive 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney radial engine. It's got a 10-foot diameter standard Hamilton propeller, and when all the levers are fully forward and the prop is in fully fine, the tips virtually go supersonic, and that is the wonderful roar that you will hear. To that wonderful engine, of course, they've also got other slight changes as well. The aircraft has been fitted with extra ailerons, which gives it a better roll rate and more maneuverability as well. And the power, of course, required, because when you've got somebody on the wing like that, it causes a lot of extra drag, and therefore you need that bit of power just to overcome that. Yes, very much the magnificent men in their flying machine you're seeing here, and they're just loving every bit of it. Dave worked his way up through various piloting activities such as parachute dropping, and the girls who work with the team all come generally out of some sort of performing arts, circus or gymnastics. It helps to be incredibly fit, able, and with the manoeuvres they're performing on the rig, then against such a strong wind, you clearly have to have not only a tough mind and outlook, but also very good physical fitness as well. And look at that display that she's in there, literally leaning across the top of the wing. One foot literally perched right in front of David's nose as he sits in his cockpit. So we know what to do when they're coming by now. Emma will be moving around there. She'll probably unclip from the harness. And here he comes now on a good wave by pass. So what have you got? Come on, boys and girls, mums and dads, give them a massive wave. These pair working really hard, and she's literally climbed down from the top. Absolutely terrific display there. Tucked neatly into the cockpit in front of Dave. The magnificent men in their flying machine from Aero Superbatics. Once again, sadly just a solo, but nonetheless a really, really rip-roaring display. Fabulous stuff. All been happening so fast here this afternoon. I can't believe the time has sped by so quickly, but we're getting back into military flying now for the rest of this afternoon. Following that, very shortly, if you got your beady eyes up there, you will have seen a little grey helicopter buzzing about the horizon. That's from the Royal Navy. That'll be followed very shortly by a training aircraft from the Royal Air Force, and then, as you all know, and waiting, and I'm sure we'll love to bits, finishing off this afternoon with the wonderful red arrows. Well, look way, way out to sea. You may just see the sun glancing off it. You may see the landing lamp glowing, but coming right at us from far out in the environment to which you would expect it to be in. The frontline helicopter from the Royal Navy, the Wildcat. Just one of a pair of black cats. Sadly, the other one not operational today. But from 825 Naval Air Squadron down at Royal Naval Air Squadron Station in Yeovilton, please welcome Black Cat 1. They've been a popular feature, the team itself, of two on the airshow circuit since way back in 2001. They were known as the Lynx Pair originally. This now, of course, the follow-on aircraft, a complete redesign by Leonardo. And the name Black Cats, that comes from the Lynx Wildcat of 702 Naval Air Squadron. It's the badge, of course, that all military squadrons have, but also combined with a bit of Navy slang, and that's known as black catting. It's all about trying to get one over on your chum or doing something better than somebody else. Getting up into a close hover now, we'll see the dexterity and maneuverability, but also the great stability of this machine, of course, essential in the sort of duties that they undertake. Frequently out on bobbing about in pretty nasty weather, protecting the shores of the UK, but also doing some interesting work in far-flung places as well. The parent squadron, 825 Naval Air Squadron, was commissioned in 2014 as part of the Wildcat Maritime Force based at Yeovilton in Somerset. They're actually responsible for training all Wildcat pilots and observers, and they look after all the flights on board Royal Navy frigates and destroyers around the world. Of course, unlike the RAF and much of the Army based at fixed base operations, the Navy as an organisation deployed much of the time with single aircraft on the back of frigates and destroyers around the world, as well as the heavy carriers which are also in service. The Wildcat Maritime Force comprises of 825 and 815 Naval Air Squadron, but also all the other elements that go into maintaining and training the crews for these aircraft. Based on the Augusta Westland 159, this aircraft packs with cutting-edge sensors and mission equipment that you would expect from a frontline fighting machine, able to carry two different types of missiles and deliver mixed weapons effects. Martlet, a laser-guided rocket system from Thales, and the Sea Venom, a guided anti-shipping missile produced by MBDA. Those elements on board, combined with a very, very clever sensor suite indeed, they provide a potent maritime strike capability. Coming into a hover once again in front of you, today by Lieutenant Tom Pethick, who's Black 1. And assisted by Lieutenant Commander Gary, known as Gaz McCall, as Black 2. As he onwards upwards, worth reflecting on his background. He joined the Royal Navy in 2010 as a direct entry pilot, and was streamed to fly the Wildcat, deployed on numerous occasions to the Middle East, playing key roles in maritime security and counter-narcotics operations. He's undertaken specialist training as a maritime counter-terrorist and interdiction pilot. He spent 2 years on a very short notice roster supporting maritime terrorism incidents. Huge nose down there, big windscreen full of ocean once again. Absolutely in his and the aircraft's element. Again, coming back into a little hover, here probably give you a little nod, good chance for you to give a nice wave as well. Very pleased to be here, they always are. You can talk to the team as well up on the Western Lawns, as indeed you can many of the other aircraft teams displaying here over the next few days. not quite complete yet. Again, a slightly modified routine, of course. They would normally in a pairs configuration, but what an extraordinary manoeuvre that is. Almost as breathtaking as the old Army Lynx backflip. But we don't see much of that anymore, very sadly. Both the Army and the Royal Navy Wildcats are co-located at Royal Naval Air Station in Yeovilton. A slightly different sensor and weapons fit, of course, for different roles. So you may have just picked up the final message from the crew there. Tom saying he's virtually completed. He'll be routing out via Beachy Head. But with any luck, we'll hopefully see the pair back in action over the course of the next couple of days. You can all join if you wish and have a little bit of a go at the hornpipe as we just hold on a few minutes to clear the airspace before our next display. Well, we won't get too carried away with ourselves. Barry, we've just got a few minutes to wait. We may well be calling in the tutor a little bit earlier, but we'll just take a short break. Just a reminder, please make sure you've got all the children with you, won't you? If you haven't picked up a wristband and you're certainly staying on longer, then do so. It just helps you relocate. Make sure that they're well looked after. It has got a little bit cooler, which is quite pleasant, but the sun is strong, so make sure that they are still well looked after in terms of hats and sunscreen and all that. And do please look after your belongings. If when you're leaving later on, very important you take everything with you, but that includes all your rubbish, please, if you don't mind, and dispose of all that sensibly where and however you can on the way out. Now we're going totally into the hands of the Royal Air Force for the remainder of the next 45 minutes or so, and we're going from one extreme to the other because we're going to be taking a look at the training regime, and in fact it's the same aircraft that all three services support in terms of not just selecting but grading, and then initial flying training for their pilots prior to then individual selection. And then, of course, we'll be finishing up with the red arrows. Well, whilst we're waiting for the aircraft to position itself, I'm delighted to be joined by Flying Officer Seb Wilson, who himself is in the process of training and moving on. Seb, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone here at Eastbourne.
And now tell us, first a little bit, you've had experience with this aircraft, but I can't remember where you currently are in the net. What is happening next?
So I am currently in hold between my training courses. I flew the tutor whilst at university on Liverpool University Air Squadron, and I finished my elementary flying training last November on the Grob Prefect, another RAF training aircraft, effectively an upgrade of the tutor.
Upgrade of the, I like that, yes, a double upgrade. Well, okay, what are your experiences of that? Would you, let's look on this particular one. Was that an enjoyable phase?
Oh, absolutely. Both the tutor and the prefect, both in that elementary flying training bubble, effectively. And it's just a fantastic experience flying in an aircraft that's not your standard sort of airliner going on holiday. It's a truly different experience. Firstly, just experiencing flying in a light aircraft, but then being taught to do it as well.
But, of course, it's also designed not just for flying in a straight line, but all the aircraft are fully aerobatic, and so they test not only the aircraft but yourself as well.
Oh, absolutely. Aerobatics is draining regardless of the aircraft. Obviously, the Typhoon and the Red Arrows, they pull a lot of G and it's very straining. But even the Tutor is a particularly, grueling aircraft to display, especially with the Tutor display today being about 8.5 minutes long usually. 8.5 minutes of solid aerobatics is going to drain you regardless of the aircraft.
Yeah, absolutely right. Okay, so tell us a bit about the pilot today then.
So Flight Lieutenant Bob Dews is both last year and this year's Tutor display pilot. And he's a full-time tutor instructor at RAF Wittering, which is where the team is based. So this is effectively his summer gig. And he's a CAI, which is effectively an instructor. So not only is he an EFT flying instructor, but he actually teaches the course that turns people into flying instructors. So he's a very, very old hand, very well experienced in many different types of instructional aircraft.
Cool. Now, we've got to look out for him, haven't we? Because this is not an easy aircraft to pick up in the sky. And he's somewhere out over the ocean, I am guessing.
Somewhere. If you can see him before me, any shouts and points would be very much appreciated, and then I'll jump into my spiel. The Tutor is obviously a very small aircraft, and we've got a number of different paint schemes, and it's a flip of a coin which aircraft we have today. Bob has not told me which aircraft we've got. We've either got X-Ray Hotel, which is the yellow Tutor, or we have Uniform, which is the red, white, and blue. And currently, I don't know which one I'm looking for, because Bob's hidden it from me. So he'll be coming towards us from the centre, towards the crowd, at some point, any minute now, and then I'll launch into my spiel.
Well, this aircraft is coming. We're just having trouble. We've got him in sight now, which is marvellous news. So look over to your right-hand side, and I'll leave you with Seb.
Yes, as George said, look off to the right for the Grob Tutor. Many of the military pilots you've seen today started their career, or at least continued it, in this very aircraft. It's the same aircraft the RAF Air Cadets fly and the University Air Squadron. As I said, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the 2025 Royal Air Force Tutor Display. My name is Flying Officer Seb Wilson. I'm the Tutor Display Manager this season. And now, flying in towards us from the centre at nearly 200 miles an hour is Flight Lieutenant Bob Dews. As he pulls up, he converts his speed into height to perform his first manoeuvre, the Hammerhead. Flight Lieutenant Bob Dews was born in Carmarthen, South Wales, and started his flying career in the Royal Air Force in 1989, flying the Queen of the Skies, the VC-10, out of RAF Bryce Norton, and then as a search and rescue pilot on the Sea King. From the end of this half-horizontal, Bob is now pushing negative 2G for an inverted pass. This is Bob's second year with the Tutor Display. He is operating at a base height of 300 feet, except for the two final passes at just 100 feet. The next two manoeuvres are a wingover and the ballistic rolls, which Bob can use to gain energy for the next part of the sequence. Displaying the Tutor requires careful energy management due to its particularly low energy ratio. As I said before, when not displaying, Bob is a qualified flying instructor, or QFI, on 115 Squadron, based at RAF Wittering, where he trains frontline pilots into fellow QFIs. During his varied career, Bob has amassed over 8,000 flying hours on 15 different aircraft types. This represents almost a full year in the air. After this half Cuban, Bob will enter a 4-point roll. Get your cameras ready for some great angles. In the 4-point roll, Bob delicately uses the rudder to support the nose above the horizon while flying at 90-degree angles of bank. The Tutor has a top speed of 212 miles per hour, or 185 knots, and can achieve maximum positive 6G, meaning that Bob is subjected to forces 6 times that of gravity. Next off to the left, another wingover, a combined pitching and rolling manoeuvre used to turn the flight path through 180 degrees. You'll notice that every wingover Bob does is slightly different as he carefully selects his flight path to cater for differing wind conditions and aircraft energy states. Bob now rolls 90 degrees while pointing straight up before completing a stall turn at almost zero airspeed. The two 90-degree turns allow Bob to continue in the same direction. The Tutor is operated by No. 6 Flying Training School in partnership with Babcock International, primarily flying University Air Squadron students and RAF Air Cadets. There are 13 air experience flights across the UK, that offer flights to up to 20,000 air cadets each year. This could be you if you're between 13 and 20 years old. Up to 50 air cadets a year are now being taught to fly the Tutor up to solo standard. After completing this conventional stall turn, Bob will enter a slow roll. During that slow roll, you may have noticed the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund heart on the belly of this aircraft, seen since 2022 to celebrate this fantastic charity. The Benevolent Fund supports Royal Air Force personnel, air cadets and veterans wherever they're in need. We're so proud to raise awareness for a charity that gives so much to the whole of the RAF family. Visit our tent, website or view our Tutor Display leaflets to access a QR code to donate to the Benevolent Fund. For those of you that are considering going to university, there are 15 different University Air Squadrons across the UK. On these squadrons, students are taught to fly the Tutor by highly experienced military flying instructors, like Bob. And it is worth mentioning that the UAS syllabus does include solo aerobatics. Members are not committed to a military career after graduation, although many do. We're now in the high energy section of the display, previously with a derry turn, quarter clover and soon a loop, all quintessential aerobatic manoeuvres. As he pulls up, Bob is subjected to 5G. He aims to pitch the aircraft around an imaginary circle in the sky. Today, the Royal Air Force is recruiting for multiple different rewarding and demanding professions and has an exciting future with the continued development of our combat, utility and maritime patrol aircraft, as well as UK Space Command. Now, just recently at RIAT, joined by the introduction of our airborne early warning aircraft E7 Wedgetail, and also now joined by remotely piloted capabilities with Protector. Down to just 100 feet for a fast pass. The high tempo of operations continues today, with aircraft and personnel deployed around the world, operating with NATO and our other allies. Visit the RAF website to find out more about our professions, including but not limited to aircrew, air operations controllers, engineers, medics, cyberspace specialists, and many more. Bob will now enter the final section of the display with an oblique loop and a half Cuban. They're both great final photo opportunities. During the oblique loop, I'd like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our supporters and sponsors this season. They are the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund, Runway 25 and Babcock International, who provided much of the merchandise we're giving out on our stand this season. If you've got some great photos of the Tutor today or at any other of our air shows, make sure to tag our social media. If it's a good photo, we will reuse it, with your permission, of course. After this half Cuban, Bob will now bring the Tutor around for his departing wave. A big thank you to Eastbourne Airshow 2025 for hosting us today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the 2025 Royal Air Force Tutor display.
Well, thank you very much, Seb. And yes, give him a wave. Oh, look at that. Wonderful bouncing little wave going all the way down the fly line there. Fantastic stuff indeed. Well, you can do this too as well, and if you're in your teens, well, in fact, doesn't matter what age you are, just go along and have a chat with the military teams up on the Western Lawns as well, because you can learn an awful lot about what they're up to, what they're doing, the various jobs that you can, and of course an awful lot about flying as well. So make the most of that and enjoy it, and you'll be glad to know that we've got Red 10 ready for you as well. He'll be chatting to you very shortly. We're just making sure that he's got all the gear that he requires. And our thanks to Seb Wilson, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Good. That is just great. Things working out very well. Well, I know this is what many of you come to air shows for. It is a wonderful opportunity, of course, and they are affectionately well known, and of course also part of our national culture and psyche. Well, we just need a few minutes now to ensure that the airspace is clear, that all the safety parameters are set, that the ocean is also cleared and ready to go as well for the Red Arrows. Now, do please bear in mind after they finish, it's going to be pretty busy around the town as well, so please take special care, particularly with any vulnerable adults and your children as well, and do make sure that you take everything with you, and if you see anything suspicious as a result of all that, then do please just chat to our stewards. Listen in to, of course, Radio Airborne as well on your way out if you're going straight to the cars. 87.7, that'll give you an update and some entertainment information about the rest of the weekend. And a moment to thank many of our sponsors. Our lead sponsor here today, Trafalgar Theatres, of course, who supported the Pit Special. And just a moment ago, Lansdowne very much supporting the Tutor display with us as well. But a whole host of many different supporters, Bruford's, Castleview, Cords, Cloud Connects, and thank you for giving us some good Wi-Fi here as well. Elite Medical, the environmental company, the Southeast Environment Services Limited, Euro Self-Drive, so many different organisations. Stagecoach, another good example there with some of the support to transport and also the park and ride services. And without them. Now, please give as much as you can and help the bucket collectors to fill those buckets during the course of the next few days. We're looking out for volunteers to wear their T-shirts as well, many from local charities, and give them your very best. And donate where you can at the collection points or online, and 100% of your donation goes towards Airborne. Our grateful thanks to the Rotary Club of Helsham and the team of volunteers for their support in organising the bucket collections. But you could become an Airborne ambassador for as little as £2 a month by direct debit, and they'll receive a free ambassador pin badge, which you can get from the information stand. So lots of ways you can help out. Don't forget to take the kids to say hi to Ace and Amy, the Air Bears. The Western Lawns will be open until 5 o'clock, and you can enjoy the rest of what is going on around there as well. And if you haven't bought a programme but you're sticking around, do get one, because of course there's a chance to enter a prize draw as well. But I've just been given a thumbs up. Well, you know what it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stand by for the Royal Air Force aerobatic team. And please give a massive airborne welcome to Red 10.
Good afternoon, sirs, mums, ladies and gentlemen. I am Squadron Leader Grey Muscat, Red 10, with the team, with the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows. It's great to be back here at Eastbourne. I'm just trying to get communications with Red 1, so just gives me a few more minutes. Make sure that they're walking and they're going to be on time. The team are operating out of Bournemouth. They are airborne. They're getting themselves to our rear, and they'll be getting themselves ready, priming the smoke pods for our arrival. We're over 400 miles per hour with the famous red, white, and blue. So please put your hands together for the 2025 Royal Air Force aerobatic team. It's the Red Arrows! Arriving at over 400 miles per hour, trailing our famous red, white, and blue. Red 1 pulls them up, brings them around to the right to start the show rolling. There are 3 types of show that we can do. It's a full, a rolling, or a flat, and that's dependent on cloud base and or airspace. Unfortunately, the airspace from Gatwick here limits us to a rolling show. However, that show is just as good as any of the other shows that we do. You now see Red 6 and 7 collapse behind Red 1. Reds 8 and 9 move in to form our world-famous Diamond 9. Once again, in from the right, leading them as the team leader for his second year is Squadron Leader John Bond, Red 1. Former Typhoon pilot, former Tucano and display pilot on the Tucano in 2012. The smoke comes on in the Diamond 9. On the right of Red 1 is Red 2, Flight Lieutenant Rob Thomas. Rob is in his first year on the team. Uniquely, he was taken from training and made straight into an instructor on the Hawk T-Mark 1, before then completing his own training and joining the Typhoon Force, where he served on operations over Iraq and Syria on 3 Squadron, before then becoming an instructor on the Operational Conversion Unit 29 Squadron, both based at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire. You'll now see the centre section move forward. It's the rear sections actually moving rearwards, and Reds 8 and 9 split left and right to form one of the widest shapes that we fly in 2025. The smoke comes on, the team roll out in the Swan. Those commands from Red 1, they're almost robotic and monotone in his delivery, and that's because we fly our formation by ear rather than by eye, and that means the pilots on the outside of the formation are putting their input in just a little bit earlier than those on the inside to ensure that the formation moves as one. Reds 8 and 9 now move inwards, sit behind Reds 2 and 3 to form the shape of one of the most iconic aircraft in aviation history. The smoke comes on from the left in the Concorde. On the left-hand side of that centre section is Red 3, Flight Lieutenant Andrew McEwen, known as Matt. And was also in his first year at the team. He flew the AV-8B, which is a Harrier variant, while on exchange with the United States Marine Corps, before then completing his own training back in the UK on the Royal Air Force latest 5th generation fighter, the F-35B Lightning II, based at RAF Marham with the world famous 617 Dambusters Squadron. Reds 2 and 3 move upwards and the rear section form the delta wing shape because 2025 celebrates 20 years of the Royal Air Force Typhoon display team. As the team roll out from the right to celebrate those 20 years, this is Typhoon. All the way at the back on the right-hand side of that formation, Red 4 working extremely hard, looking all the way through the formation at Red 1, because we take all our formation references from Red 1 and not necessarily the aircraft that's on the inside of us. Red 4 is squadron leader Chris McCann's second year on the team. Again, he was taken from training and made straight into an instructor on the Tucano, after which he then joined the Tornado GR4 force, again serving on 617, the Dambusters Squadron, on operations over Afghanistan, where he received an Air Force Cross for his service on operations over Afghanistan. The team now move forward because the Royal Air Force not only has a capability in air, we also have a capability in space and cyber. And with a nod to that capability, in from the left, this is Apollo. There are 11 pilots in the Red Arrows. There are Reds 1 through 9 displaying crews today. Myself, Red 10, former Tornado GR4 pilot, former qualified flying instructor on the Hawk Team Mark II, and this is my 4th and final year with the Red Arrows. And then we are commanded by Wing Commander Adam Collins, Red 11, who was former Red 10, former Tornado GR4 pilot, and former F111 pilot while on exchange with the Royal Australian Air Force, and it's his final year as Officer Commanding RAFAT. Reds 6 and 7 now split. Reds 8 and 9 move left and right. Coming in from the left, get your cameras ready. The smoke will come on for the colourful Big Vixen. Towards the back. And that has twofold effect. The first effect means the pilots fly with a higher throttle setting, thereby producing a hotter engine gas temperature, and it makes the smoke colours burn a lot more brightly. In addition to that, it disturbs the airflow outside the back of the aeroplane, and it makes the smoke billow a lot more fuller, and therefore in certain manoeuvres throughout the display we'll use that technique to enhance those manoeuvres. But of course, the Red Arrows is not just about the pilots. We have a team of over 140 personnel. 120 of them are the engineers, the logisticians, the public relations, the administrators, and they are known as the Blues. And there are a number of Blues today here at the RAF Village tent. So please pop along, have a word with them, find out what they do in the Red Arrows and also what they've done in their Royal Air Force careers. 6 and 7 sit behind Red 1. Reds 8 and 9 sit in trail. Red 1 continues to bring them around to the right. For the most popular, if not the most popular, the Red Arrows fly. Get your cameras ready. It's tornado time! 8 and 9, roll, go. The aboard call is made from Red 9 as Reds 8 and 9 roll around the rest of the formation. But what's for the colour change as Red 1 brings them down the line? Reds 8 and 9 now join the rest of the formation as Red 1 continues to bring them around to the right. They'll form our world famous Diamond 9 once again, and this will be your last opportunity to get a picture of the Red Arrows in our world famous Diamond 9 before we go off into the second half of the show. Of course, the second half of the show is the more dynamic, heart-pumping, jaw-dropping part of the show, a lot more fast-paced with high-speed head-on crosses from the synchro pair. Red 1 continues to bring them around to the right. The smoke will come on once again in our world famous Diamond 9. It's the 2025 Red Arrows.
Swing back a little. Right off, down. Left. Holding down.
As we go into the second half, we'll start with the same way as 2024 because it was so popular. Get your cameras ready, it's the 5-4 split. Now in the second half, we operate in two distinct sections. Off to the left-hand side, Reds 1 through 5, known as Enid, named after Enid Blyton's famous 5. And off to the right-hand side, 6, 7, 8 and 9, known as Hannah, named after squadron leader Ray Hannah, one of the first members of the Red Arrows, the only team leader to lead the team for 4 consecutive years. He took the team from a 7 to a 9 and formed our world famous Diamond 9. Enid from the left, Hannah from the right for the colourful 5-4 cross. Keep your eye on Enid to the right-hand side. The call is made by Red 1. Red 4 starts to move to sit in behind Red 1 as Red 5 sit and trail on the rest of Enid.
Right off, go. Right off, go. Back. Hold it. Aboard.
Number 5, roll, go. The aboard call is made by number 5 as he rolls around the smoke of Enid. Red 5 is Flight Lieutenant Dustin Wales, known as Dusty. He's in his second year and the team originally from Zimbabwe. He's a former Typhoon pilot, having served on 11 Squadron, an instructor on 29 Squadron, as well as being a test pilot on 41 Squadron, all based at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire. As Enid leaves to our right-hand side, look directly to your front. You're looking for the smoke trails of Hannah, the red and the blue from 8 and 9. Roll around the rest of the smoke of Synchro Pair for the Hannah break.
Hannah split.
Red 6 and 8 to the left-hand side, Red 7 and 9 to the right-hand side. Hannah and the Synchro Pair are led by the Synchro leader. That's Red 6 to our left-hand side, smoking white. Red 6 is squad leader Tom Hansford. Tom is in his third and final year on the team. He's a former Typhoon pilot, former qualified weapons instructor on the Typhoon, which means he used to teach all weapons tactics and technical information to the entire Typhoon force. Each pair will now dive back to the display line. They'll dive down to a height approximately 100 feet above the sea. They have a closing speed of over 900 miles per hour in a maneuver called the Hannah Pass. Go up and down in the roller coasters as Reds 6 and 7 remain flat. Pull, go is the call from Red 6 as Red 6 to our right pulls up and Red 7 to our left pull up. Red 7 to our left is Flight Lieutenant George Hobday. George is in his second year on the team. Again, he was made an instructor from training on the Tucano before then joining the Typhoon Force, completing operations over Iraq and Syria with 11 Squadron. Each aircraft roll inverted, roll the correct way up to meet in the middle, passing wingtip to wingtip, only 30 meters, completing the maneuver called boomerang. Each aircraft now turns hard, up to 6 G away from each other, turn the boomerang into cyclone slingshot. As they cross in the middle, look to your right-hand side, just to the beyond Beachy Head, the smoke comes on from Enid. Get down as they form the inverted V. Look to your left, you're looking for Red 9 coming in. Red 9 will be travelling at over 500 miles per hour. You can see him just above the pier. He lines up with the inverted V of Enid to perform the Goose. Red 9 is flight center Ollie Sutcliffe. Ollie is in his third year on the team. He's a former Tornado GR4 pilot, former qualified flying instructor on the Hawk T-Mark II. As Enid leaves to our left-hand side, look directly to your front. You're looking for the nose lights of the synchro pair in the distance. Red 6 with Red 7 to his right-hand side, our left-hand side. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get your cameras ready. This is the one you do not want to miss. The smoke comes on for the world-famous Synchro Heart. And coming in from the top right to spear the Heart is Red 8, Flight Lieutenant Rich Walker. Rich is an extremely experienced pilot, having flown Harrier, Typhoon, and being a qualified flying instructor on the Hawk T-Mark II. And the Red Arrows would like to dedicate today's heart to Jemima and Elliot, who are guests today of Airshow Eastbourne, who are getting married on Saturday. But the show's not over. Keep your eye on the synchro pair. They will come back towards the display line once again at that 100 feet. That closes a speed of over 900 miles per hour. Each aircraft will perform a barrel roll. They'll cross, hopefully in the middle, with wingtip to wingtip. 30 meters, that's only 100 feet, followed by a second barrel roll in a maneuver simply called the double rolls. Look to your left-hand side in the distance, just to the right of the pier. You can see Enid running back in with Reds 8 and 9 in trail. 8 and 9, roll goes Reds 8 and 9, roll around the smoke of Enid in the corkscrew. The motto of the Red Arrows is attract, which means excellence. Striving for excellence in everything that we do. And we also like to think that we leave the team in a little bit of a better place than when we joined the team. As Enid switch off their smoke, keep looking to your left, keep looking to your right. You're looking for the synchro pair once again. This time you've got Red 6 from the right, Red 7 from the left. Each aircraft will perform a barrel roll. Once again, crossing in the middle, 30 meters, wingtip to wingtip. That's only 100 feet, before then turning hard away from each other in the circus. Their head, their weight, their around the seashore. Not only that, they pass their blue to red, their red to blue, holding up that 6G to complete the manoeuvre called Circus. Once again, as the synchro pair leave to our rear, look to your front right 45 and you're looking for the white smoke of Enid running back in. Our famous red, white and blue goes on once again as Red 1 flies a barrel roll in the sky, leaving a snake-like smoke trail in the sky in a manoeuvre called the Serpent. Another great opportunity to see our famous red, white and blue, only capable due to the smoke pod that's under the belly of the aeroplane. That smoke pod produces approximately 5 minutes of white smoke, 1 minute of red smoke and 1 minute of blue smoke. Each of the colours have their own button on the pilot's control column. And during winter training, both Red 1 and Red 6 come up with a smoke plan, so we ensure we have the right colour smoke at the right time in the display, and we simply do not run out. Reds 2, 3, 4 and 5 now move up alongside Red 1. Extremely hard formation to maintain. They're looking 90 degrees along their shoulder line while pulling up to 4G. The smoke comes on in the Tango. As Enid leaves to our front left 45, keep looking to your left, looking to your right. You've got 6 and 9 coming from the left, Red 7 and 8 from the right hand side. 6 and 9 roll inverted for one of our first new manoeuvres of 2025. This is Chainsaw. Rushing to their head, they're working extremely hard against those negative Gs. Conversely, they now roll the correct way up. They turn those negative Gs to positive Gs. All the blood rushing from their head to their feet as they pull up to 6G, fighting hard against those G-pants. Keeping their eye on Red 7 and 8 coming in from the left as they cross in the middle, completing the Chainsaw manoeuvre. Cast your eyes to the left-hand side, the nose lights twinkling in the distance of Enid. 2 and 3 roll go as Reds 2 and 3 roll to the outside. Clear go as Reds 4 and 5 roll to the outside. And one of the hardest manoeuvres for our new pilots to master each year. This is Wildcat. As Enid disappear to our right hand side, look directly to your front. You're looking for the aircraft of Hannah. The smoke comes on from Red 6, 8 and 9. The red and the blue from 8 and 9 roll around the smoke of Red 6 for the second of our newest manoeuvres for 2025. We can see 6, we can see 8, we can see 9. However, hiding in the smoke of Red 6 is Red 7 in the Tempest. Red 6 once again to our left-hand side, Red 7 off to our right-hand side. Each aircraft will pull up to approximately 1,000 to 1,500 feet. They'll turn hard back towards the display line for their final manoeuvre of the show. Once again, the synchro pair will dive down to 100 feet. That closing speed of over 900 miles per hour. Each aircraft will perform a barrel roll, passing in the middle 30 meters wingtip to wingtip 100 feet before rolling inverted to leave the display area in a maneuver simply called the crossbow. now joined by Reds 8 and 9. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an honour and a pleasure. Please put your hands together for the 2025 Royal Air Force Aerobac team. It's the Red Arrows! Puts his smoke on, he'll gather the rest of the formation, take them back to Bournemouth Airport where we're operating from for the next 4 days. I hope you enjoyed our show. As I said, it's been an honour and a pleasure to perform for you today at the first day of Airborne at Eastbourne. If you'd like any more information about the Red Arrows, of course we are all across social media. We're across social media, we're on Facebook, RAF Red Arrows, and on Instagram, RAF Red Arrows. All the pilots have their own Instagram account. If you find me, RAF Red 10, and you'll be able to follow the rest of the pilots. If you hashtag Red Arrows, any images or videos, we'll pick them up and share them across social media. As I said, it's my fourth and final year at the Red Arrows. It's been an honour and a pleasure to take part in the Red Arrows and represent the Royal Air Force. If I don't see you for the rest of the 4 days here at Eastbourne or the rest of the future of the rest of the season, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope to see you all again in the future. Please take care. There's plenty to see around the showground, so please don't run off just yet. But thank you on behalf of the Red Arrows. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
And our grateful thanks to you, Squadron Leader Muscat. Red 10, thank you. Hands together. A marvellous job that he's been doing. Absolutely terrific. Wonderful day. Yes, indeed. What a valuable and terrific contribution the Royal Air Force make to every air show, and plenty of time to go and chat to them as you wish and can on the Western Lawns, open until 5 o'clock. Please, please, please look after the beach, pick up your litter, and protect all the marine life here as well. Help us to reduce waste. Take all your rubbish home if you would, please. There's plenty of recycling points up and down the Western Lawns and by the Lifeboat Museum, all kindly provided by Environment First. The last bus, by the way, for those parked at 5 Acre Field, will depart Cavendish Place at 7:30 p.m. If you walk, cycled or travel by public transport, then well done you. Thank you so much for your contribution to sustainability. If you want to make a few comments, then just go to the eastbourneairshow.com/survey site. But above all, don't rush away. Stay. It's a beautiful evening. Plenty to do yet. Spice Girls on at the bandstand at 8 p.m. Well, the tribute show is. The Play What I Wrote with Joe Pasquale and many others, of course, around the corner at Devonshire Theatre at 7:45. The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe at the Congress Theatre at 7:30. And tomorrow is Typhoon time. Yes, the Typhoon is back for its 20th display season. Well, I hope very much you've enjoyed it today. I certainly have, and many of the guests that I've been chatting to have enjoyed it as well. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow, but right now it's time to leave you in the capable hands of Radio Airborne.